Picture this, you're shooting a portrait, your subject is sharp, the background is blurred, and here's the thing, that blur is real, not computed, not estimated by software, optically real. That's what the iPhone 18 Pro's camera does that no iPhone has ever done. And that's just one part of the story, because this fall, Apple is also holding the price while every major Android manufacturer is raising theirs, and they're restructuring their entire launch calendar in a way that forces your hand at checkout, whether you were planning to upgrade or not. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what you're dealing with. And I'll tell you the one group of people who should absolutely not buy this, and even if everything else sounds right. So here's the scope of this video. Everything credibly rumored or supply chain confirmed about the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max. Pricing: the A20 Pro chip, the variable aperture camera in real detail, not just the headline, satellite internet, the new colors, and the launch strategy shift that Apple hasn't done before. I'm going to give you the honest picture, what's confirmed, what's still a rumor, and what it actually means for a real buying decision. Let's start with the number that isn't getting enough attention. Apple is planning to hold the iPhone 18 Pro at $1,099, the Pro Max at $1,199, same as last year. And on its own, that sounds like a non-story, but here's the context that makes it significant. Global memory costs have spiked. AI demand has driven RAM prices up across the industry, and Android manufacturers have passed those costs directly to consumers. Multiple flagships have gone up in price in 2026. Apple is absorbing the cost instead. Now, why analyst Jeff Poe at GF Securities put it plainly, he expects Apple to outperform the smartphone market by pursuing an aggressive pricing strategy on the iPhone 18 Pro, and he believes Apple's sheer scale gives it significantly more leverage over RAM suppliers than any Android manufacturer can match. When you buy the volume Apple buys, you get a different conversation. One caveat: storage upgrades are still rumored to cost more, so the $1,099 entry point holds, but if you go to 512 gigabytes or 1 terabyte, you'll feel it, as always. And there's a second layer to this pricing story, which is about who Apple is actually competing against this fall. That's coming up. The iPhone 18 Pro ships with the A20 Pro chip built on TSMC's 2-nanometer process, codenamed Borneo Ultra. That's a code name that sounds like it belongs on a classified briefing folder, not a spec sheet. But here's what 2-nanometer actually means in practice. The current A19 Pro runs on 3-nanometer. Moving to 2-nanometer brings rumored gains of up to 15% in raw performance and 30% in power efficiency compared to the A19 generation. 30% more efficient. That number has a direct consequence for battery, and the battery story this year is already interesting on its own. There's also a new packaging system rumored, placing RAM physically closer to the CPU, GPU, and neural engine. That's not marketing language. That's a structural change that reduces the distance data travels between components. Faster AI processing, better multitasking, and it doesn't show up in a benchmark number. You feel it in day-to-day use. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is getting a bigger battery, rumored at 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hours. And to fit it, the Pro Max is reportedly going to be slightly thicker and heavier than its predecessor. A reputable leaker has said the Pro Max will weigh approximately 243 grams. For reference, the iPhone 14 Pro Max was the previous record holder, so this thing is heavier than any Pro Max Apple has ever shipped, and I think that's the right call. Here's why. The A20 Pro chip is 30% more efficient. The battery is physically larger. Those two improvements compound. You're not just getting more capacity, you're running a more efficient engine on a bigger tank. For iPhone 15 Pro or earlier users, the practical difference in real world endurance is going to be significant. For the standard 6.3-inch iPhone 18 Pro, battery upgrade reports have been less specific. Worth noting, if battery life is your primary reason to upgrade, the Pro Max is the one. Okay, this is the part the whole video has been building toward. From the iPhone 14 Pro through the iPhone 17 Pro, 4 generations, the main camera used a fixed aperture of f1.78. Fully open, every shot, no exceptions. The iPhone 18 Pro changes that with a physically variable aperture on the 48 megapixel main camera. And production has already started. Chinese supplier Sunny Optical has begun manufacturing the actuator mechanisms. LG Innotek is installing dedicated equipment at its Gumi facility in South Korea. Module assembly begins June or July. This is not a rumor at this point. It's a supply chain in motion. So what does variable aperture actually do for you? 3 things. First, light control. In bright scenes, the aperture closes to prevent overexposure. In low light, it opens wider to pull in more light before any processing happens. Right now, the iPhone handles all of this computationally after the fact. Variable aperture handles it optically at the source. Second, a depth of field. This is the one that matters most for photography. You can choose a wide aperture for that creamy background blur on a portrait, a blur that's optically real, not computed, or narrow it down for landscapes where you want everything sharp front to back. Third, and this one is actually my favorite, the bokeh effect in portrait shots will be generated by real optical physics, not software estimating what blur should look like. And here's the thing nobody has said clearly yet. This feature is confirmed for both the Pro and the Pro Max, not just the larger model, both. Now, one honest caveat. Dedicated cameras offer aperture ranges from f2.8 all the way to f22. Whatever range Apple ships will be narrower. The exact stops haven't been confirmed. A variable aperture on a smartphone sensor doesn't replicate what a full-frame camera does with that range. It's not that. What it is a genuine hardware-level capability that no iPhone has ever offered. And there's also a separate telephoto upgrade. The telephoto lens is reportedly getting a wider aperture too. The current iPhone 17 Pro ships an f2.8 telephoto. The 18 Pro is expected to push that further. Better low-light zoom, sharper long-range shots, 2 aperture upgrades, 1 phone, and this is step 1 of a 4-part roadmap. After variable aperture, the pipeline includes an ultra-large main sensor, enhanced ultra-wide stabilization, and a 200 megapixel periscope telephoto in a future generation. Variable aperture isn't a standalone feature, it's the opening move. On the outside, this looks like the iPhone 17 Pro, same general form factor, same triple lens camera plateau, same 6.3-inch and 6.9-inch sizes. Leaker Sonny Dixon has already published images of the dummy units. They confirm what the rumors have been saying. 2 things are worth your attention though. First, the dynamic island. It's expected to shrink by up to 35%. Some Face ID infrared components are moving under the display. The front camera stays in its central position. An earlier rumor about it moving to the corner was traced back to a mistranslation. So, smaller pill, same placement, cleaner face. Second, the colors. Dark cherry is the headline. A Macworld source described it as a deep red with a tinge of purple. Not a bright red, a dark, almost wine-like finish. It replaces cosmic orange from the iPhone 17 Pro. The full lineup is expected to be light blue, dark cherry, dark gray, and silver, and leaked camera plateau protection plates from Leaker Ice Universe already show all four finishes. That's a good sign for confidence on these colors. One more design note. The back glass is reportedly updated to reduce the two-tone effect between the frame and the glass. A more unified look overall, minor. But if you thought the 17 Pro had a slightly disjointed appearance, Apple agrees. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are getting Apple's C2 modem. The C1 debuted in the iPhone 16e. The C1X came with iPhone Air. C2 is the next step. It brings millimeter wave 5G support and something bigger. Full internet access over satellite, not emergency SOS, not a text message to a contact when you're stranded, actual internet, third-party apps, Apple Maps, photos uploading from anywhere. And as of April 2026, Apple appears to be partnering with Amazon for this. Amazon acquired Globalstar, which was the previous provider of iPhone satellite connectivity. That service now falls under Amazon's LEO satellite network. So the infrastructure is already shifting. Here's the honest caveat on this one. 5G satellite internet at consumer scale doesn't fully exist yet. The infrastructure needs to develop alongside the hardware, but Apple building the capability in now means the iPhone 18 Pro is the device that grows into this feature, not one that needs a hardware revision to support it. This fall is different. Apple is releasing 3 iPhones in September 2026, iPhone 18 Pro, iPhone 18 Pro Max, and the iPhone Fold, which is expected to start somewhere around $2,000. That's it. No standard iPhone 18, no iPhone 18e. Those come in spring 2027. Think about what that does to the fall lineup. If you want a new iPhone this September, your cheapest option is $1,099, and standing next to it is a $2,000 foldable. Suddenly, the Pro at $1,099 is the entry point, the affordable option. Apple didn't raise the price on the Pro. They removed everything below it from the fall window. That's not pricing strategy, that's architecture, and it directly determines who should and shouldn't buy this phone this year. So, let's be direct. If you're on an iPhone 15 Pro or earlier, buy the iPhone 18 Pro, variable aperture camera, a 20 Pro chip on 2nm, C2 modem, bigger battery on Pro Max, smaller dynamic island. Every single hardware pillar has moved. The upgrade math is clean. If you're on an iPhone 16 Pro, it's closer. The camera is genuinely new hardware, not a software update, not a computational trick, a physically different optical system. If you shoot a lot, that might be enough. If you don't, it probably isn't. If you're on a 17 Pro, the 17 Pro already has an excellent camera. Adding variable aperture is meaningful, but not at full upgrade cost. If you bought 12 months ago, wait for the 19. And the one group who should absolutely not buy this, anyone who usually buys the standard iPhone model. The standard iPhone 18 isn't coming until spring 2027. Don't let the fall window pressure you into a Pro purchase you didn't plan for. Wait, the standard model is coming. It'll be the better value. Here's the thing I keep coming back to though. Apple is absorbing higher memory costs instead of passing them on. Every Android flagship is getting more expensive, and Apple's cheapest new iPhone this fall is its most expensive non-foldable. That's a very deliberate position, and it's either really impressive strategy or a very smooth way to make sure everyone spends at least $1,099. Probably both. Drop a comment. Would you upgrade from a 16 Pro specifically for the variable aperture? Because I genuinely think that's the most interesting upgrade decision of the year. And I want to know where you land. See you next video. Peace.